Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Rebecca Baysari from the Lebanese Environment Forum. LEF is an umbrella of environmental NGOs from across Lebanon, working together to advance environmental protection, promote sustainability, and support civil society engagement. This is our fourth webinar organized under the EU-funded project aiming at establishing a marine protected area in Lebanon in partnership with the University of Balamand. Our goal with these sessions is to engage stakeholders involved in marine and coastal biodiversity conservation and providing them with capacity building opportunities to better use science and knowledge towards the development of an effective MPA network. I want to thank everyone, participants and speakers, for joining us today, especially that this session falls during the vacation period. Your presence and commitment to marine conservation is truly appreciated. Welcome to the team of Balamand, our partners. Also, a thank you for the European Union for their support to this project. I would like to mention before we begin that this session will be conducted in English. And the webinar will be or is being recorded and will be made available online for you to watch later with a link to access the recording. So we kindly ask you to keep your microphones muted during the presentations. And if you have any questions, please write them in the chat and we will address them at the end of the webinar until the end of Q&A session to respect everyone's time. We have a full lineup of speakers and this will help us ensure that we stay on track. So thank you for your understanding. Today, we are bringing together special experts and stakeholders from the Mediterranean region to explore how 30 by 30 target, for example, could be translated into concrete marine conservation actions at the Mediterranean and at the national level. To begin, I'm pleased to welcome our first speaker, Mrs. Asma Kheriji, from RACSPA, Specially Protected Areas Program Officer at the Regional Activity Center for Specially Protected Areas. Mrs. Kheriji, are you with us?
Yes, good morning, Rebecca. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for inviting the SPARAC and me to this fourth edition. It's my second participation to this webinar, and I'm really pleased to join you all in this important exchange online. So, if you allow me, I can share my presentation.
Sure.
Yes, so that I can start. Hope you see my screen very well. Maybe in this mode it's better. So my presentation will give you informations about the Barcelona Convention efforts towards achieving the 30 by 30 CBD target. So as you may know, the Mediterranean Action Plan is the umbrella, and it's the basis for the convention on the marine environment and the coastal region of the Mediterranean, which is known as the Barcelona Convention, and it has 7 protocols. One of them is the SPABD protocol, which is the Specially Protected Area and Biological Diversity Protocol that focuses on biodiversity, on conservation of the marine biodiversity, including the marine protected area, the SPAMID, which are the specially protected area of Mediterranean importance, of the protection also on the protection of the species and habitats that are endangered or threatened. So The UNEP map, or the map system, the Barcelona Convention system, has 7 regional activity centers, and one of them is the SPARAC. The SPARAC is the only one that is based in the southern of the Mediterranean, that, as I said, is tackling and in charge of the implementation of the SPA-BG protocol. Our mission of the SPARAC and our various activities include inventory and mapping of species and habitat, developing research. We have several specific conservation programs for habitats and species. We do also monitoring and assessment according to the IMAP, the Integrated Monitoring and Assessment Program. We are also in charge of the creation and also the management of MPAs and the declaration of SPAMIs in the Mediterranean. Maybe some of you have already participated in our various capacity building programs, and also least but not one of the important things is also information outreach, communication, and education on MPAs, species, habitats, etc. So our vision is more or less the same as all the regional organizations, which is to have a healthy Mediterranean with productive, biological, diverse coastal and marine ecosystems that contribute for sustainable development for the benefit of the human, but also for nature. We have several strategic programs and documents. One of them, and the first and the most important one, is the post-2020 SABAIO. The SABAIO stands for the Strategic Action Program for the Conservation of Biodiversity and Sustainable Management of Natural Resources in the Mediterranean region. And it has a 15 years cycle. It was more or less recently, it was last updated in 2021, thanks to the contribution of the several MPA and biodiversity stakeholders. And it is adopted by the Barcelona Convention. It has several goals. The first one is to reduce the threats that are put on biodiversity and in general in the Mediterranean region. The second one, to ensure that biodiversity is conserved and maintained in order to enhance the balance between the people's needs and what nature can offer to us. And the third goal is to enable the necessary tools and necessary also changes that are essential to guarantee a conserved Mediterranean. So I go quickly because I should respect the 10 minutes. So also the SPARAC has several action plans. 6 on them are specific to species. 3 of them are specific to habitats, and 1 is specific for the species introduction and invasive species. All these action plans are available in English and in French, and you can find them on our website. So you have, for example, action plans for turtles, for cartilaginous fishes, on habitats like corylligus and dark habitats, etc. One strategy that is specific for marine protected areas and also the other effective conservation measures is the post-2020 regional strategy for MCPAs and OECMs. This one was in parallel adopted in parallel to the post-2020 SABAIO by the Barcelona Convention Co, and it has several pillars. On governance, etc. I will go through them through different slides. And it is aligned with the CBD target, the 30 by 30 target, meaning that by 2030, we should protect at least 30% of the Mediterranean Sea. That should be, of course, well connected, ecologically and representative, and that that also has another component specific to OECMs. And also, what is specific for this strategy is that by 2030, the number and the coverage of the marine and coastal protected area with enhanced protection levels are increased. Enhanced protection levels means, for example, the no-go sites, the no fishing sites, the area that have a strict protection level. So, as I said, the post-2020 MCPA and OECM strategy has several pillars. The first one is on governance, and under each pillar you will find several actions that are proposed either for the contracting parties, meaning the countries bordering the Mediterranean Sea, or for the international or regional organizations. And of course, several of them could be implemented by national or local organizations. So the first pillar is on governance. The second one is on coverage, how to increase the governance. The third one is specific to OECMs, the other effective area-based conservation measures. The fourth one is on the effective management. It's not only about creation, but also how to effectively manage the declared areas. And the fifth one is about the actions and support that should be mobilized for the MCPAs and OECMs. So I went really very, very brief, but you can find this strategy on our website with the whole actions and the whole full pillars. Next year, meaning in 2026, we will be evaluating this post-2020 MCPA and OECM strategy according to its evaluation and monitoring framework. And this is to assess the efforts that were made by all the MPA stakeholders and actors, and also to identify the gaps and challenges that remain. And of course, we should put the question, where we stand and why we didn't reach the 30 by 30 objectives, or also the other parallel objectives. And also finally, to set the priorities from 2026 to 2030, how we can achieve collectively the 30 by 30 CBD target. It's important also to say that this post-2020 MCPA and OECM strategy is not the strategy of the SPARAC. We are not the only one that are meant to implement it, but it is, of course, open to all the countries, as I said, the national, international organizations, but also for the national and local community that can find actions that can support the implementation of this strategy. And I am going to cite several actions that we do that are related to MPAs, but I wanted to first bring to your attention that the SPARAC is producing OECM, the other effective area-based conservation measures guidance, in order to provide the clear criteria, because you know the criteria for OECMs are already set by the CBD and are further clarified by the IUCN guidance efforts. IUCN, maybe my colleague Yaprak will also say some words on that. They have do a lot of work on that on international level, but also on Mediterranean level. And the SPARAC wanted to further clarify those criteria and to adapt it to the Mediterranean and to more or less each country context. So you will find clearer criteria, methodologies, and also best practices to identify, to recognize, and also to report those OECMs in line with the global targets. So maybe I will skip this slide that want to say that the Mediterranean is under pressure, into words, and you all know this this map that is from the joint work of the SPARAC and the MedPAN. It is coming from the MapAmed, thanks to the MapAmed database. The MapAmed database is the database on MPAs, on the marine protected areas. We collect the data on MPAs that are validated by the SPABD focal points of the SPARAC, and then put on the MapAmed database, and then we analyze those data in order to produce the MPA status reports that is issued every 4 years, with, of course, with MedPAN. And in 2020, the last official numbers say that only 8.3%, unfortunately, are protected with MPAs in the Mediterranean. And recently, a recent figure that, of course, needs to be confirmed by the SPARAC focal points. Will be validated very soon. In 2024, and this is a new figure, not very good figure, unfortunately, is that only 8.9%. So we went from 2020 to 2024 with only 0.6, I think, percent protection. So in 4 years, the efforts really were not sufficient in order to achieve the 30 by 30 target. So the poster also shows the difference between the north and south, the coastal and the open waters, etc. And maybe this will be another presentation on the status that hopefully we will do soon, together with MedPAN. So what the SPARAC is doing in order to contribute to enhancing the situation in the Mediterranean, for example, we have the SPAMI list. The SPAMIs, as I said, are specially protected area of Mediterranean importance. Those are very, very special and important sites in the Mediterranean that have unique features, either at national or at Mediterranean level, and that are recognized by the Barcelona Convention. So it is an adopted list. The aim is to promote cooperation regarding the management and conservation of those unique areas through national, local, national, or also regional and international cooperations. And this list is reviewed every 6 years. So every 6 years, there are a specific committee that is composed by the SPABD focal point, the manager, one national expert, 2 international experts that go through each of the SPAMIs that are meant to be assessed in that year, in order to see if they still meet the criteria or no. So today we have 39 SPAMIs in the Mediterranean. Most of them are in the north and west of the Mediterranean. And in Lebanon, we have 2 SPAMIs. We have the Palm Island SPAMI, and we have the Tir Coast Natural Reserve SPAMI. Also, regarding the SPAMIs, we celebrate the SPAMI Day since 2022. The first edition, the SPAMI Day, is a day of celebration in order to recognize the efforts of the countries, of the local communities, civil society, etc., that do so much effort in order to continue the preservation and the conservation of those unique sites. We started in 2022 with the very first edition, where we have distributed the certificates of those SPAMIs. And lastly, 2 weeks ago, we were in Lebanon, where we have held a hybrid event for this day. It's a national event, but with the regional scope. We have some attendance online, but we went there, and we also seized the occasion in order to celebrate the 40 years of the SPARAC with the inauguration of the monk seal status, that is the symbol of the SPARAC, and also symbol of the Mediterranean, the whole Mediterranean, this species. Another action is the SPAMI twinning program. The SPAMI with twinning program is a twinning between at least 2 SPAMIs in order to exchange good practices, experience, but also sometimes also the bad practices and the things that didn't went well, so that those SPAMI can exchange between themselves in order to try to learn from each other. It's a two-way learning. And it had three phases until 2024, until 2023. And recently in 2024, 2025, we had the last and the fourth edition of the SPAMI twinning program that was funded by MAS, the Italian Ministry of Environment and Energy Security. And Lebanon has participated, I think, in two twinning programs in 2021 and 2022. The Palm Island and the Tir Coast. So I'm almost there. So the SPARAC is also, because this slide could be a huge presentation, but I wanted to just make it in a couple of bullets. But we also do, thanks to several projects and of course the donors, such as the SEMPA project and other previous projects, the IMAP-MPA project, the MEDKI Habitat project. Those are specific to MPAs. We do several ecological studies, socio-economic studies, capacity building, etc. And all those studies are available on our website. We have worked a lot specifically in the southern part of the Mediterranean, because as you saw in the map, there is a gap between the north and south. So we are pushing for the creation of a new MPA and for the enhanced of our MPAs. Last slide. As I said, other actions for MPAs, the SPAMI twinning program, but also we have with MedPAN, my colleague Carol, I think, can also continue sharing those information. We have the MPA forum that is co-led by the SPARAC and MedPAN, and it happens every 4 years. And it is a unique opportunity for all the MPA stakeholders together to share experience, and where we also, the database, I already gave you a small overview, the database on MPAs, the MPA status report that hopefully the next edition will be available hopefully by next year. So yes, so final words is to say that cooperation is very important. It's not only about the regional organizations that are doing the work at the regional international level. We really appreciate, and we cannot do without our partners, regional organizations such as the ACOBAMs, the GFCM, IUCN, MedPAN, WWF, VMed Fund, etc. But also the national and local partners are really essential and key for all the efforts that we are expecting at the international levels. So that's it, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Asma. Thank you for explaining all this main points and about the Barcelona Convention, also contribution to marine conservation goals. Just before going to our second presentation with Yaprak from IUCN Med, I would like to take a quick moment to capture a group photo for all participants. If you could please turn on your cameras for just a minute. I'd really appreciate it. It would be wonderful to have a photo with everyone. Well, you all look great in the summer. Ola, are you ready? Great, I guess that's it, right? So, for our next presentation, I'm pleased to introduce Mrs. Yaprak Arda, Marine Biodiversity and Blue Economy Program Officer at the IUCN Center for Mediterranean Cooperation. She will present on how 30 by 30 global conservation target is being implemented through marine protected areas and OECMs. Yaprak,
Yes,
the floor is yours.
thank you very much, and good morning and good afternoon to everyone, and thank you very much for your invitation. It's a pleasure to take part again in the webinar series. So I am going to share my screen. So I hope everyone can see my screen in the full presentation mode. Okay, so today, I'm Yaprak Arda, the Marine Program Officer of IUCN Med, and I will be presenting about how the targets, how we move from the targets to transformation by realizing 30 by 30 through MPAs and OECMs at the global level and also at the regional level. Just to briefly introduce, as IUCN Med, we are situated in Spain, but of course we work with every single country in the Mediterranean. We focus on different topics, different subjects, and different strategic lines. And one of the most important strategic lines that we focus is about MPAs and OECMs. Actually, at the moment, we are updating our OECMs and MPAs strategy. So it's really nice to take part in these webinars because it also gives a sense of what's happening in the Mediterranean. And it's always good to hear from other countries and stakeholders. So that definitely helps us shape our strategies along the way as well. So just to give an overall introduction to the subject, we know that at the moment there is an urgent call for a new deal for nature and people to put nature on a path to recovery by 2030 and transition to a nature positive world that safeguards human health and livelihoods. And we all know that as we are more or less all from the Mediterranean depends on healthy ecosystems, but yet we know that Mediterranean is under tremendous pressure. I'm not going to list all these pressures because we know all these negative impacts that are really impacting the Mediterranean Sea. But we know that we need to secure the future for the region and its communities and regional organizations in the Mediterranean. They are calling for a network of effective MPAs and OECMs to cover 30% of the Mediterranean Sea by 2030. So we all know that we have commitments at the regional level, but also at the global level. And one of the most important targets that we need to follow is the CBD's target 3, which is to conserve 30% of land and waters and seas by 2030. And at the regional level, at the moment, we are working towards one of the most important international goals, which is the CBD target 3. So let's have a look at what is the situation at the moment at the global level and the regional level. So this is a map from protected areas, which is actually the official map created by CBD. So this map is actually the world map, is actually taken from July 2025. And it showcases all the terrestrial and in water protected areas, marine protected areas, and OECMs as well. So when we look at the global coverage of the MPAs at the moment, we see that it is around 9.61%. And if you were to include OECMs, the marine OECMs into this picture, it only increases to 9.85%. So we've been talking about the status of the Mediterranean, but when we look at the global level, of course, we are also quite behind the 30 by 30 targets. And as mentioned by Asma, and probably our Carol will also mention from MedPAN, when we reflect back into the Mediterranean, so Mediterranean is more or less, let's say, the same as the global levels. So when we look into the Mediterranean at the moment, currently the status is around 8.3. I know this is not a recent map. Carol will kindly present us the recent updated numbers, probably in her presentation. We know that these numbers in the Mediterranean slightly increase, but unfortunately they just increase by slight percentages. So still within the Mediterranean region, including MPAs, including the other protected areas, we are quite far behind the 30 by 30 targets, and we are almost halfway through 2025. Well, we all know that MPAs and OECMs are very important for conserving an effective way, at least 30% of the Mediterranean Sea. And it is crucial to maintain and restore the biodiversity, which is the foundation of the marine ecosystems and their capacities to rebuild the fish stocks, mitigate the impacts of climate change, secure the future of sustainable fisheries and tourism, guarantee the food and livelihoods and well-being for the local communities in the Mediterranean. So we've been talking about the OECMs a bit. So I would like to reflect on the OECMs because OECMs, as IUCN, we take a crucial role in the concept of OECMs, and they're really being introduced at the global level and also at the regional level in the Mediterranean. So just to give a quick overview, OECMs are geographically defined areas which are distinct from traditional protected areas, but managed in ways that yield positive, sustained, and long-term outcomes for biodiversity conservation, including associated ecosystem functions, services, and when applicable, cultural, spiritual, socioeconomic, and other locally significant values. So OECMs are complementary to the MPAs, because OECMs are also critical in regions where establishing formal MPAs might not be easy or feasible. So OECMs can be considered as complementary to MPAs. And as IUCN, we have been instrumental in defining that what qualifies as an OECM and what has developed, and we have developed guidelines for identifying and managing these areas. So when we look into OECMs, there are many categories that an OECM can fall under, which can be privately managed conservation sites, military sites, forests, riverine ecosystems, agricultural landscape, marine ecosystems, spiritual lands. So there are actually many areas or concepts that actually can be considered as OECMs. So an OECM can be under three different categories. It can be a primary conservation area, it can be a secondary conservation or ancillary conservation. And if an area is designated as a primary conservation OECM, when it is formally recognized by the governance structure of that state, it can actually be considered and accepted as a protected area. So once, if an area is declared as a primary OECM, it also always can be considered as a protected area once it meets all the criteria of a protected area. So when an OECM is designated as an OECM, it doesn't have to stay as an OECM. It can also be considered as a PA once you meet, once all the categories, all the requirements are met. So as IUCN, we have guidelines and criteria and assessment tools for OECMs. And basically OECMs, there are 4 basic criteria. And so the criteria A is that the area is not currently recognized as a protected area. The criterion B is area is governed and managed. Criterion C achieves sustained and effective contribution to in situ conservation of biodiversity. And criterion D is associated ecosystem functions and services and cultural and spiritual, socioeconomic, and other locally relevant values. So when you are evaluating a site, it has to be based upon these criteria. And then there has to be a screening procedure. And as you can see, there are 3 steps for a screening and designation process of an OECM. In the initial state, which is step, which is basically the screening of the proposed OECMs, you basically look at the site, and then you have to make sure if it meets all the screening criteria. And then if it meets all the screening criteria, that means that it can be considered as a potential OECM. So if that is the case, then you move to the next step. That means that you need to get the full consent and the full assessment of all the stakeholders included within that site. And then if it's confirmed and agreed upon by the stakeholders, then you can carry out a full assessment to that potential OECM. And once you complete the full assessment, if it meets the criteria, then it can be confirmed as an OECM. And then through the government authorities, it can be announced. And then the protected area, the CBD, and the protected planet, they take that into recordings. And then, as I showed you the map of the protected area, then it gets to be reflected on the official map of the CBD. So when we look into the Mediterranean, we've been talking about the Mediterranean. So Asma, she reflected a bit on the Mediterranean status and what's happening. So we all know that in the Mediterranean, we are facing a qualitative challenge. We know that at the moment, the numbers are quite low and we still have a long way to go. And of course, even if we have a certain coverage in the Mediterranean, we also need to take into account that not all the sites have the management effectiveness. And also we know that majority of the protected areas are in the EU part and mainly on the northern part of the Mediterranean. And we also need to see if those protected areas are covering what they should be covering. So we all know that we also need, there is a lack of connectivity. There is a systematic conservation principles, which are lacking the marine spatial planning frameworks within the region. And we know that, as I mentioned previously, the concept of OECMs, it has been increasingly recognized by the Mediterranean countries at the moment as a complementary tool to MPAs in achieving the biodiversity targets. And we know that at the moment, several countries in the Med are in the process of identifying, recognizing, and reporting OECMs as part of their commitments under international agreements like CBD. And some Mediterranean countries have started pilot projects to implement and monitor OECMs. So as Asma mentioned, and mainly Carol will mention, at the moment we are all working on this OECM guidance report in the Mediterranean, and we are also trying to see in which countries there could be potential OECMs, marine OECMs, because that is also the thing in the Mediterranean. We have terrestrial OECMs, but at the moment we have no marine OECMs in the Mediterranean. So we're also trying to define the potential OECMs, the marine OECMs in the Mediterranean as well. So what we are doing as IUCN and as many other regional organizations in the Mediterranean, as maybe majority of you are aware, CBD recently established a technical and scientific cooperation mechanism consisting of a network of regional and sub-regional support centers to be coordinated by a global coordination entity. Actually, like IUCN, like SPARAC, we are actually part of this, one of the technical and scientific cooperation committees. And our main role is to ensure that the targets for CBD are implemented within the Mediterranean region. So this definitely brings us the strength to ensure that we are currently following on the 30 by 30 targets. And this technical and scientific committee, the cooperation mechanism, will definitely boost the 30 by 30 target progress in the upcoming years in the Mediterranean. Also recently, IUCN launched an Act 30 initiative in the Mediterranean region. And this initiative is for co-design and co-deliver a global initiative to catalyze and shape how 30% of lands and oceans are brought under protection. So we are going to work with several organizations in the Mediterranean in the Act 30 initiative to ensure that we are following the 30 by progress in the Mediterranean. In addition to all these regional initiatives and action, as IUCN Med, we are currently coordinating many different projects in the Mediterranean in different countries, including Horizon calls, including Interact Med calls, including LIFE projects. So these projects are mainly focusing on MPAs, or supporting policy and advocacy aspect of the 30 by 30 targets. So we have different initiatives and projects happening in the Mediterranean. And of course, majority of these initiatives and majority of these projects are in coordination with the key regional stakeholders in the Mediterranean. But we all know that we need a bit more ambitious actions in the Mediterranean. So what needs to be done in the near future is that we definitely need to translate existing policy and legislation into action. We need to ensure that we have to increase and implement biodiversity conservation targets, which we have seen we are a bit behind. We need to integrate the MPA network into holistic ecosystem-based management. And we need to ensure the designation of sound and effective marine OECMs to support the regional targets. We need to scale up nature-based solutions to mitigate climate change impacts. We need to conserve key underrepresented ecosystems in the Mediterranean. We need to improve the governance of the Mediterranean Sea. We need to introduce a fair and just transition to account for the cost of increasing conservation targets. We need to engage with the stakeholders, and we need to engage stakeholders in the decision-making processes. And as it was highlighted by Asma, we need to ensure regional collaboration of key organizations in a coherent approach in the Mediterranean. Just to finalize my presentation, as IUCN, we have several materials, knowledge products, platforms, methodologies, and tools for protected areas and OECMs, which are all publicly open and accessible online. And we have our IUCN Commission on Protected Areas, which play a key role in the MPAs and OECMs, and they have a marine specialist group, which are just focusing on MPAs and OECMs at the global level. So they are also very key in the work of IUCN. We have IUCN Green List, which actually is a key tool for the management effectiveness of the protected areas. And for OECMs and MPAs, we have many publications, guidelines, or assessment tools that definitely can be used for the targets that we are hoping to reach in the upcoming 5 years. So as I said, these are all accessible by IUCN website. So thank you very much for your attention. And well, we will be answering the questions at the end of the presentation. So thank you.
Thank you, Yaprak. Really, we would like to thank you for this comprehensive overview of the 30 by 30 target and practical steps underway. Continuing with the regional efforts, our next presentation will be from MedPAN, the Network for Marine Protected Areas Manager in the Mediterranean. Carol Martinez will be representing MedPAN today in place of Renaud, who unfortunately cannot attend due to an urgent commitment. We thank Carol for joining us. She will share insights on the revision of the MedPAN strategy for the period for the next period of 5 years, outlining the future direction for this regional network. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you very much for the kind invitation. I'm very happy to find good friends and colleagues. And indeed, I will present our ongoing work on the revision of the MedPAN strategy. So let's set the scene and give you a few words about MedPAN. As you know, MedPAN is a human network bringing together more than 133 organizations, members and partners in 21 countries, and this represents more than 700 managed marine protected areas. As my dear colleagues Asma and Yaprak mentioned, currently the status of our MPA networks is far to reach the 30 by 30 target, and here are the updated figures. Today, the network represents 8.8% of the Mediterranean Sea. And when it comes to understanding the high protection, only 0.04% is under strict protection, no go, no take, no fishing zones. But what is quite striking is that actually, as Yaprak and Asma underline, there is a big imbalance between the northern shore and the southern shore, as 97.4% of MPAs are currently located in the European waters. So definitely action have to be scaled up in order to enable the countries, the stakeholders to reach proper marine conservation in our beautiful Mediterranean Sea and to hopefully reach the 30 by 30 target. But more than the figures, I think what is key and critical is to ensure an effective management of those marine protected areas and OECMs. So in order to frame its activities and action, as you understood, MedPAN has already adopted a strategy. And we have undertaken a process, a very participatory process of revision of this strategy in order to address the needs and the expectation of our members and partners. So in order to support this work, we have already undertaken a series of works and analyses, particularly from a policy point of view. We went through as well the implementation of the former strategy. We assess as well the involvement of MedPAN beneficiaries, members, and partners. And we have started a series of online workshops in order to make sure that our community of marine conservation in the Mediterranean region can definitely contribute to this very important revision process of the MedPAN strategy. So this is in a nutshell our timeline. This process will last until the end of the year. It will be concluded by a discussion on the new draft of the MedPAN strategy till 2030 for this strategy to be adopted next year. So the aim of such a process is definitely to bridge the gap between the current status and the desired future in order to co-define, co-design with our members and partners a common vision and a common understanding of the activities to be undertaken by MedPAN as a network. So in order to ease the participation, actually all the information, all the documents is available on our website. So you can find all the documents supporting this process, but as well the key conclusion of the former webinars on our website. So feel free to browse and to go and visit our website, as you will see the work done already through this revision process. We have, as part of this process and to support the discussion, undertaken an overview of the beneficiaries of MedPAN activities over the past 5 years. And as you can see here, we have analyzed the participation of our members and partners and sometimes other organizations, both for regional experience sharing workshops, but as well our training activities. And this gives us a good understanding of how we can actually strengthen the participation of our members and partners. One key component actually of this revision process is to define the new activities or to update the activities, to, I would say, adapt activities to effectively achieve the proposed objective and the new objective that came through the exchanges during the webinars we have organized so far. In full transparency, you can see here one key conclusion of the evaluation of the former strategy. Definitely, there is a clear need for a simpler strategy structure. And this is actually the key, I would say, orientation that will guide us for the draft of the new strategy towards 2030. So as a result of the very interesting and fruitful discussion organized through the webinars, we have now 30 new objectives identified within 4 themes: the governance and the life of the network, financing of MPAs, the capacity building and knowledge, and advocacy and policy. So I will go quickly through the key themes, highlighting, I would say, objectives that and ideas that have been shared through the different webinars. So regarding the governance and the life of the networks, clear objectives have been defined in order to expand, to strengthen the network, to make sure that is a broad and representative sustained engagement of all the Mediterranean MPA managers, practitioners, and stakeholders, because we have always to keep in mind that if we say that it requires a village to raise a kid, actually it requires a full community to manage properly and effectively an MPA. So it's not only MPA managers, but all the practitioners, all the stakeholders that contribute to effective management of MPAs. Another important objective is around to the professional and resilient internal governance and operational structure of MedPAN. As you understood, the MedPAN is going through a transition process, and actually this transition process will be highly informed by this revision of the strategy and all the feedback, all the good ideas, advices, and information that our members and partners have kindly shared with us. Another important objective is around the strategic collaboration with MPAs, but as well all the relevant thematic and sectorial networks in order to work at a multi-scale and in very cross-sectoral dimension. And definitely another objective is around the funding in order to make sure that there is a sustainable funding and adequate resources to support the effective management of MPAs, but as well the works and activities of MedPAN as a network. Keeping on this important topic of governance and life of the network, one possible activities that have been highlighted is to maintain the engagement with the existing members and partners while enhancing their active involvement in MedPAN's activities. Actually, we would like to get closer to our members and partners and to further deploy joint activities and different types of support. Another important activity is to maintain and to strengthen the thematic groups. As you know, MedPAN has set up different working groups around financing, fisheries, and mobile species. The one key information that came from the discussion is that we need definitely to work more and to tackle the climate change impact. So this definitely will lead us to foresee a new working groups around climate change and to further deploy thematic working groups in order really to address the issues that our community of practices is facing. And we can ensure an effective functioning of the governance bodies. The second very important theme of this strategy is definitely financing. So we need to work and to continue to expand our small grants programs. As you know, MedPAN is organizing call for proposal is one key activities of our network in order to support our members and partners to really make sure that MPAs and OECM are effectively managed and governed. We need to continue as well to actively monitor and share the most common funding opportunities. There are many opportunities, but sometimes it's not easy to find the information. So as a network, it's our duty to make sure that this information is easy to find and accessible for our members and partners. The third very important theme of this revised strategy is around capacity building and knowledge. As you know, it's one key pillar of MedPAN as a network. We have set up a long-term program around training and trainings. So this is something that MedPAN will definitely continue, but in close synergy with other organizations. Asma mentioned the work done by SPARAC. And for the sake of our beneficiaries, there is room for improvement in terms of synergy, but as well access to the information, to the different training opportunities. So it's something that MedPAN will undertake through the implementation of this revised strategy. In order to make sure that we really address the needs, we will undertake a training need assessment in order to make sure that our offer of service is really addressing the expectation and the needs of our communities. One key advice has been as well to support a full program of training of trainers in order to have a real scale-up effect, and the training can be organized by other organizations in the countries or at the sub-regional level. So definitely keeping on capacity building and knowledge, we will as well support exchange visit, annual thematic workshop, as each time it's a great opportunity of peer-to-peer exchange, good knowledge and experience sharing. So we will keep on organizing such event. In order to strengthen our activities around training and knowledge, we will assess how new technology can support MPA management. We will work, and we actually work already on restoration techniques. And as I mentioned, we will further investigate the very critical issue of climate change adaptation techniques. For the last but not the least topics or themes of this revised strategy, advocacy and policy, we will make sure, according to the discussion we had, that we will maintain participation of MedPAN in key EU policy processes and European working groups. As you know, MedPAN is part of several working groups of the European Commission in order to convey the reality and the needs from the ground, and to make sure that the decision making is informed by the needs and the experience and expertise from our members and partners. We will, in addition to the European level, definitely keep on our work of representation of relevant international fora, and we will definitely be very active at the Mediterranean level. As part of the key action will be as well the update of the post-2020 MPA roadmap, kindly mentioned by my colleagues before. This is something that we will do in line with the strategy revision. Keeping on this advocacy and policy theme, as I mentioned, we will keep on working highly and closely with our dear partners in the region, the SPARAC, ACOBAMS, IUCN Med, and we will co-organize seminars. Asma mentioned a coming seminar in order to share the latest updates figures regarding the MPA networks in our region. This is a kind of joint activities that highlights synergy and is a sharing of information and data at the regional level. So what remains to be done? As I mentioned, this process of the MedPAN strategy revision will last till the end of the year. We have already conducted very interesting and fruitful webinars, and we will actually organize by the end of the year an online workshop in order to share actually the results of all this discussion, and that will be compiled in a new draft strategy for 2030, and taking into account the feedbacks and comments, the final version of this new strategy will be adopted next year. So this is what I can say regarding this very important process. What I could add is that this process is yours, actually, because the strategy is done to inform, to frame the network that is MedPAN activities and action. So the more you share your say, the more we are in a position to address your needs and your expectations. So please join us for our coming webinar. Have your say so that this strategy is definitely yours. I thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Carol, for this strategic outlook on MedPAN's role and plans. Before turning to the national context, we would like to thank really this successful trio working closely together, Carol, Yaprak, and Asma. It's truly a pleasure to have you with us as speakers for the second time, and it's really inspiring to see how your efforts at both personal and institutional level and your collaboration continues to advance marine conservation in the Mediterranean. Now with Mrs. Lara Samaha. Lara, head of the Department of Ecosystems at the Ministry of Environment in Lebanon, and focal point for CBD and SPARAC. She will present Lebanon's status and commitments regarding marine biodiversity conservation and other related policy measures. Lara, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rebecca, and thanks for everybody. And the presentation that preceded me was really very interesting and straight to the point. I will continue following the same spirit, but at national level. Rebecca, my voice is clear?
Yes, we can hear you very well, Lara.
Oh, sorry, I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, but I will try as much as possible to transmit our vision and the idea. So in Lebanon, we used to have only 2 marine protected areas, which were Palm Island, established in 1992, and Tyre Coast, established in 1998. And the others were terrestrial and forest nature reserves. In 2012, we developed with IUCN, specifically IUCN Med, within a project that we have implemented for 2 years. We developed the Lebanon's Marine Protected Area Strategy, which was issued in 2012. It was the first marine protected area strategy in the Arabic countries for the Arabic region. And in this strategy, we were the first that have proposed or set a marine protected areas network. So since 2012. In this strategy, we have set to increase our marine protected areas and to add more marine protected areas. And we have defined the area which are the most suitable to be declared as marine protected areas due to their richness and biodiversity and to their ecosystem. We have set 9 coastal and marine, 9 coastal sites, 5 estuaries, and 5 in the deep sea. So after that, we coordinated with SPARAC within their projects, the regional project, specifically MedPAN project and MPA project. And we have done within this project with them the marine survey, marine biodiversity assessment in the 9 coastal proposed candidate MPA. And regarding the 5 deep sea, we coordinated with and collaborated with Oceana, and in 2016 we have done through a project with Oceana and with them the biodiversity survey in the 5 deep sea. In parallel, since we have the strategy and we have the report resulted from this project and this assessment, the ministry we have prepared the draft law to start establishing a new marine protected areas. We have coordinated with the municipalities, the concerned municipalities, because after all, we need their approval on the establishment of a new reserve in their city. And because after that, we need to collaborate with them, of course, to conserve and manage this nature reserve once declared. So we have coordinated with all the municipalities that have candidate MPA on the coast, but we got so far approval from 3 of them. Accordingly, we have prepared the law establishing the coastal and marine protected areas on this city, which are specifically Byblos, Ras Samaha, and Anfe in North Lebanon. Byblos is in Mount Lebanon, but northern part of Mount Lebanon. And we have submitted them to the Council of Ministers. 2 of them, which are Anfe and Byblos, were transmitted to the parliament. So they are in the latest stage of declaration, and Ras Samaha still in the Council of Ministers. But meanwhile, also in the year 2020, we have declared a 3rd marine protected areas in Lebanon, which is Abbasiyah Coast Nature Reserve, which is close to Tyre Coast Nature Reserve. It's already declared and has a committee, and we started their local management through this committee. And now we are continuing collaboration with these coastal municipalities in order to get approval to declare more protected areas in these candidate protected marine protected areas that are set in our marine protected area strategy. Meanwhile, as you know, we have the CBD has issued the global biodiversity framework, post-2020 global biodiversity framework, which includes the global target, among them the global target 3, which call to ensure and enable by 2030 that at least 30% of terrestrial inland water and coastal and marine areas, especially area of particular importance for biodiversity and ecosystem services, are effectively conserved and managed. And of course, the CBD, after issuance of the GBF, they have called all parties to review and update their national biodiversity strategy and action plan in line with the global targets of the global biodiversity framework. So in Lebanon, we are updating our national biodiversity strategy and action plan, our MBSAP. We are now in the final stage. It will be issued soon. Of course, we have done it in a participatory approach with all stakeholders through many workshops and consultations meetings. And we have set the national target 3, also a national target in line with the global target 3, in which we have committed to increase our protected areas, whether terrestrial and or marine, and OECM, to reach 30% in 2030. This new target is in line with the GBF, but also it's in line with the post-2020 regional strategy for marine and coastal protected area and OECM issued by SPARAC, which was presented now earlier by Asma from SPARAC. Because of course this post-2020 regional strategy developed by SPARAC was in line also with the GBF. But currently we have in Lebanon as protected areas 4 categories. We have the nature reserves, but our terrestrial nature reserve are much more than our marine reserve. We have 18 nature reserves, but only 15 terrestrial and 3 marine and coastal. So in the nature reserves, our nature reserve covered 3.7% only from Lebanon surface area. And among these, we have terrestrial covering 2.422% of our surface area, and our marine and coastal covering 1.278% of our surface area, of Lebanon's surface area. And we have also other category of protected areas. We have the HIMA, which are community-based management area. The HIMA are 24 HIMA, but also the majority are terrestrial, but they have marine and coastal 3 or 4. The HIMA, the terrestrial cover 17% from Lebanon surface area, but the marine only 0.04% only. Regarding the two other categories currently in Lebanon, that we have currently in Lebanon, we have nature sites under the protection of the Ministry of Environment, which are 25 sites, but these sites doesn't include marine. They include either forest, either nature bridge, nature sinkhole, like feature, geological feature, or river from source to sea, but all the riverbed, but not specifically marine. It's from their source to sea, to their estuary. And we have protected, there are 21 nature sites, and we have the fourth category protected forests under the mandate of the Ministry of Agriculture, which are 19 protected forests, but of course, as the name mentioned, they are forests, not marine. But we are optimistic to be able to reach by 2030, 30%, the target 30%, but it includes terrestrial and marine and coastal and inland water, not only marine, of course. And we will be able to reach them because until now we have, if we count all the categories of protected areas in Lebanon, the four categories, they cover 19.5% of Lebanon surface area. So we are able to reach the 30% in 2030, especially that we have marine protected area and other terrestrial nature reserve in pipeline. In addition to nature sites also, or HEMA in pipeline. In addition, that we will also define OECM. Defining OECM in Lebanon will help us a lot to reach the 30%. And now we are working to designate OECM in Lebanon. So hopefully in 2030 we'll able to reach the 2030. Sorry? Sorry, Rebecca, there are people speaking.
Hey, I muted them. You can continue,
Okay.
Lara, don't worry.
So I mean that it's not impossible for us to reach the 30%, the target 30 by 30 in 2030 at national level, because we have the four categories of protected areas. And now we are working to increase a number of each category. In addition to OECM, we are working to designate more OECM. Thank you. And also, like Asma mentioned, I forgot to mention that among our three marine protected area, current marine protected, we have two as a SPAMI, designated as SPAMI under Barcelona Convention, since it includes unique features at national and regional level. As Asma mentioned, which are Palm Island Nature Reserve and Tyre Coast Nature Reserve, already they are classified as a SPAMI at a regional level. Thank you.
Thank you, Lara. Thank
and
you
also,
so much.
Rebecca, I want to mention that we can reach the 30%, the target, so because we are working all together, government, civil society, local authority, municipalities, local community. We are joining hand to be able to reach this target in 2030. Thank you.
Thank you, Lara. Finally, we welcome Dr. Milad Fakhri, Director of the National Center for Marine Sciences at CNRS Lebanon, who will discuss about the marine biodiversity and challenges in Lebanon. Dr. Fakhri, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rebecca. I would like also to thank LEF for inviting me to be one of the speakers during this webinar. I already participated in maybe not online meeting with you last December to talk about Junior through your project. So I will give a small point of view of a scientist that is working in the marine environment and in monitoring, assessing the different issues of related to marine environment. Let me see how to, this is, okay. So let me introduce a little bit the center. The center is one of the National Center for Marine Sciences is one of the 5 centers that are affiliated to the National Council for Scientific Research. The National Center for Marine Science was established in 1977, and it's implementing, its mandate are to supervise the coastal zone by implementing a monitoring program, and this monitoring program to the coastal site was implemented since more than 40 years. Also to assess the status of sediment and biota along the Lebanese coast and the marine in the marine park, to study the fish stock by having and the biology of fish, to assess the climate change, its impact on the different ecosystems, marine ecosystems, also to work on biodiversity from small zooplankton till megafauna like cetaceans, as well the focal point of aquabombs. And also now recently we started to work on assessing the spread of marine litter and microplastic in our marine environment. So let us say that also what allowed us to go now deep in the sea and far offshore was a grant, an Italian grant, which was a scientific boat, Cana vessels, which is equipped with most recent and updated oceanography instruments, and that allowed us to study the sea in depth and offshore. And also we have a small catamaran. So let me say that what is the importance of having a network of marine protected areas. If we look to this map, we see that on this map, this is the monitoring map that we are publishing every year to show where the status of our coastal marine water. And here, if we look at this map, we see Abbasiyeh down. If you look at my cursor, Abbasiyeh and Sur too, which have a very good status from the bacteriological point of view, which means they are clean and they are very good for swimming. Why? Okay, these are 2 marine protected areas. If we look on another point, which is far away from the Sur Tir Natural Reserve, which has a very good bacteriological status, we can see this station is far from Tir Natural Reserve for about 200 to 300 meters. And we can see that this is a station which has a high percentage or high concentrations of fecal coliform, fecal streptococcus, and it's not advisable for swimming. While if we go south 200 meters to the south of these stations, we can find this station, which is a protected area, which has a very good bacteriological status, and it is suitable for swimming. What I want to say is that having a marine protected area means that we have less sources, direct sources of pollution that can threat such beach or the marine of this beach. And even if it is surrounded by different sources of pollution, but the direct impact will be less than not being a protected area, because a marine protected area has its own management plan. It has its own management committee that try to avoid and to remove any threat if possible, I say, because you cannot isolate a beach or a marine protected area, coastal marine protected area. It's not talking about Tripoli, which is isolated as island far 5 kilometers from the shore. I'm talking about coastal marine protected area like in Abbasiyah or Taif, which are surrounded by different variable sources of pollution or variable sources of anthropogenic pressures. If we go now, we look to this Palm Island Natural Reserve. It's very beautiful, far from people, but the impact and the stress from the anthropogenic activities, different activities like tourism, mainly tourism, are great on this island because many kilograms of a big amount of marine litter are daily removed from this island, even if it is protected and it has a management plan, and they are taking care not to have pressure on it, but it is receiving from water the marine litter and from people that are frequenting and coming to visit this island. They are leaving their garbage, and the committee is obliged to remove daily about more than 80 big bags of litter and to transport them to the shore, which means that you have to put extra money, extra funds just to spend them on removing the garbage. This comes from, the consciousness of the people, of the citizens. Because of this, here, more actions should be done on the awareness, on the visibility, just to tell people how much they are harming their nature. Here also, the Tyre Natural Reserve, even if its water is clean from the bacteriological point of view, and it's good for swimming, but this doesn't mean that it is not also subject to the harassment of people, because they are making picnic, like you see in the picture on the right, upper picture on the right. People are leaving their garbage, their picnic tools, and they are going home like nothing happened, like they are thinking that nature will clean itself. Okay, but in their home they don't leave this garbage. If you look also from these plastic bags down, that is due to also coming from these illegal dump sites. They are spread along the coast, and with any storm or any high tides, they will transport these bags or other garbage all along the coast. So even if it is a natural reserve or a protected area, this doesn't mean that it is protected 100% from the variable sources of pollution. Even here, like I said, just a few meters from it to the north, there is this beach that I showed you that is totally contaminated. Means that with time, this protected area will be under the threat of receiving also, or from the north, some of the bacteriological loads or domestic water coming with any wind or currents coming from the north, or here to the south of this marine protected area, there is Rashidi, also Palestinian camps, which has 5 direct outflows of marine wastewater coming into the sea. So it's very difficult to isolate a marine protected area if we don't have a whole plan for the whole coast to make it empty of any threats to the marine environment. I will show you that in water also we have microplastic. if we look in front of this TNR1, TNR2, this is in front of the entire natural reserve. We can see that the concentration of microplastic can reach more than 25 items in a cubic meter of water, which is equal to Beirut, here Beirut at in the right side. We can see it's the same, even if the top or tire is a natural reserve, but its water is contains a high concentration of microplastics. So that's what I was telling. We cannot isolate unless we have a plan, a strategy for the whole Lebanese coast. Because of this, I said this is very important to have a network of marine protected areas, because we will reduce the sources of threats. For the contamination in fish with heavy metals, even if we have like in Tyre, which is a protected area, okay, it has like the other marine areas in Lebanon, the fish are not contaminated in the whole Lebanese coast, the whole Lebanese water. Also, the presence of heavy metals in the sediments. If we look at Tyre Natural Reserve sediments, also we can see that it has the lowest concentrations of heavy metals, and it's not at all contaminated with heavy metals. So having in marine protected areas also will reduce the accumulation of contaminants in its sediments, and it will not be used later as a source of contamination. Let us talk a little bit about the biodiversity. We implemented in 2022 to 2023 projects, IMAP, MPAs, and ECAP-MED 3 in collaboration with the Ministry of Environment and with UNEP MAP. And we tried to estimate, to assess the marine biodiversity and the non-indigenous species in 3 sites: 2 marine protected areas, which are the Palm Island Natural Reserve and Tyre Coastal Natural Reserve, and in Beirut, which is under high pressure, anthropogenic pressure. We saw that by assessing the ecological objective 1 biodiversity common indicators 3 till 5 for marine turtles, that we had high number of marine turtles that were frequenting the Tyre Natural Reserve, and they were using these sites for hatching, for nesting and hatching. Even Tyre Natural Reserve, with the help of SPARAC, they established a center for rescue center for marine turtles. So this is very important to have natural reserve like this to take care of the marine turtles from the disease or any injury till taking care of hatching and protecting the nests. For marine birds, we can say a big number or many individuals were recorded in the 3 natural reserve or marine protected area, like here in Tir, in Ras Al Ain, and Tyre Natural Reserve, north of Tyre Natural Reserve, and in Abbasiyeh, and also in Tripoli. If we can look in Tripoli and in the Palm Island Natural Reserve, we can see we have more than 329 individuals were observed during this project. For cetaceans, still, even if we have a natural reserve or marine protected areas, the concentrations of dolphins in Lebanon were around Beirut, not because of we having a protected area or something. The dolphins and the cetaceans are usually frequenting the canyons and the slope of the continental slope, which because it's good for feeding and for rest and for considering these canyons as habitats. Because of this, we have the biggest concentration in Beirut. For the non-endangered species, and we found that many non-endangered species were assessed from crustaceans till bivalves till algae or others in the Tyre Coastal Nature Reserve, but more in Beirut and in Tripoli because they are rocky sites, while Tyre Nature Reserve
شيء مش طبيعي.
the Tyre is sandy, most of it sandy, so it has less biodiversity than the other sites. Let me tell some words about the pressure and impacts to the Lebanese coastal ecosystems, or you can call them challenges. So the Lebanese coast suffers from various climate-induced and anthropogenic pressures, and these pressures affect the main ecosystems and the services provided. So the main threats and pressures impact the Lebanese coast are summarized as follows: the habitat destructions, and as we all know that the loss of habitats is the main cause of ecosystem disintegrations and species decline. And the main causes of coastal habitat degradations in Lebanon are the constructions of beach resorts. We know all of these most of them are illegal. The land reclamation, the port establishment, the spread of dump site and landfills along the coast, and the increasing in privatization of the shorefront. The other pressure is the marine pollution, and we know pollution from various sources affects the terrestrial, marine, and coastal freshwater ecosystem. And the main sources of pollution are the municipal and industrial waste, and mainly the domestic wastewater, and because we have lack in operating wastewater treatment plants and lack of networking, the agricultural waste disposal, and this may subject the marine environment to eutrophication, and the recreational activities, and this leads to the spread of marine litter along the Lebanese coast and the microplastics in water and sediment. We have the problem of invasive species, and with the opening of Suez Canal, and also with the problem of climate change, now we have the establishment of more than 300 Indo-Pacific species in our marine water. The overfishing and the use of very illegal fishing gears and unsustainable fishing techniques leads to the decline in our fish stock. And the climate change, its impact now on the marine environment is translated with invasion of substance species. We are still working on assessing the increase in surface seawater temperature and the increase in sea level. We have the sporadic events and unexpected events like what happened in 2006 through the attack of Israeli bombs on GE electrical plants, and the spread of tons and tons of oil in the seawater, and they covered the whole Lebanese coast. And in 2021, we got from Israel also another oil spill that affected the southern coast of Lebanon. And thank you.
Thank you, Milad. Thank you so much for this important presentation and for this analysis for marine biodiversity and challenges that we face locally. Actually, I don't know how much time we have to open the floor for questions, but I think that we need this kind of sessions and dialogue for advancing marine conservation efforts from regional commitments to local realities, especially in Lebanon. So I guess we can open the floor for 2 or 3 questions. If there is any question, please feel free to submit your question in the chat box or raise your hand. So I don't know if there is any question from anyone. No? Great. So we'll have vacation very soon. We have to conclude in this way. I don't know if there is anyone has an intervention. Okay. No. So I will be closing this session. And I would like again to thank all our speakers for their expertise and for all our participants for your engagement. We encourage you to stay connected with the Lebanese Environment Forum for future initiatives, events, and collaborations. I would like to wish you all a great day and thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Asma.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
Yaprak.
Thank you.
Milad.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye bye.
شكرا. Thank you. شكرا جزاك الله
Bye,
خير.
bye, Rebecca. Thanks for
Bye.
everybody.
Bye,
Thank you.
Lara.
Thank you. Bye, bye.
Bye.
Bye.